When a Hollywood star suddenly disappears, rumors begin to circulate rapidly on the internet. Jason Momoa, the world-renowned Hawaiian actor known for his roles as Khal Drogo on Game of Thrones and Aquaman in Aquaman Legend of the Lost Kingdom, actually experienced this. People were confused when Momoa suddenly stopped going out in public while filming the Aquaman movie. What investigators uncovered in his posh London mansion, however, is not good. On live television, conservative host Jesse Waters remained silent as images of the incident circulated throughout the media. The same reaction kept popping up. This is terrifying. What happened? How could someone whose life appeared to be going so well suddenly fall so drastically behind closed doors? This is the question that everyone is asking now. The unexpected realization that fame can bring many advantages, including wealth, esteem, and even the ability to keep secrets. Jason Momoa, a celebrity from Hawaii, appeared to have it all, but there was a strange going on behind the scenes. It all started in late 2021 while Jason was filming Aquaman in London, a highly anticipated film. The production was already behind schedule and over budget when the devastating news broke. Jason had contracted COVID, isolating him and jeopardizing the entire project. The film's producers are worried that a positive test for Jason might force them to postpone their already stretched shooting schedule, even though he is perfectly healthy. He is currently being kept isolated from society. What appeared to be a minor setback would quickly escalate into something far more terrifying, according to an insider. Jason opted for a £20 million mansion in North London with 8 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, and extras that would make even the most spoiled celebrities pine, rather than the standard 5-star hotel, as most famous people would do when they need to heal. The cast and crew maintained constant contact with their star. Jason appeared to be thriving despite his isolation. He participated in virtual production meetings and occasionally shared positive self-portraits on social media. But as the weeks passed, communication slowed to a trickle. There was a lack of follow-up on calls and brief, occasionally confusing text messages. The subsequent statement from one production assistant read, "We started to worry when he missed 3 virtual meetings in a row." The director understood, but there was a lot of money at stake with every day of delay. The secret, however, was that Jason Momoa's temporary home behind the mansion's gates was becoming the scene of an unprecedented event, a transformation that would later cause property managers to freak out and contact their attorneys and insurance providers. To put the shocking discovery in perspective, picture Jason Momoa's temporary home. This wasn't your average house. It was a sprawling farm that exuded an air of unmatched opulence. Don a size 11. Located in a leafy area of London, this neoclassical mansion sits on 5 acres of lush, verdant land, lots of trees and vegetation, as well as a private guard lodge and 3-car garage, contributed to its seclusion. The inside had been stripped bare. Jason could view early versions of his latest projects in the home's professional-grade theater. An indoor bowling alley was available for use during the lengthy quarantine period. A massive indoor pool with marble columns was the most remarkable feature, though since it was tailor-made for the actor portraying the Atlantean king. You might have gotten the best sense of Jason's personality from the homemade climbing wall that was constructed in front of the house. The actor supposedly couldn't tolerate the idea of spending all day indoors without a physical challenge, given his reputation for enjoying rock climbing and outdoor adventures. Jason will be living the superstar life despite being away from home, Entertainment News said at the time, accompanied by pictures of the massive property with all of its elite amenities. The master suite took up an entire wing of the house and featured a bedroom larger than the average London apartment, a walk-in closet larger than a mini-store, and a bathroom fit for a luxury spa. A tub large enough to accommodate 6 people was available, along with Italian marble countertops and faucets plated with gold. Not many people get to enjoy this kind of luxury. The commercial-grade appliances in the kitchen were perfect for preparing Jason's favorite organic, healthful meals. He had a private gym with state-of-the-art equipment so he could stay in shape for his superhero role even when he was by himself. The game room had a wide variety of games, from classic arcade machines to the latest consoles, and a wine cellar with rare vintages offered a relaxing drink. The stunning images failed to capture the essence of what would be lost upon Jason Momoa's departure. They were unprepared for what was to come, since they had previously welcomed billionaires and royalty without a hitch. No matter how much experience they had, nothing prepared them for what they discovered after Jason Momoa left. Jason began his life in Iowa, although he was born in Hawaii. Being from a small town with foreign looks and becoming a global star has always made him a bit of a contradiction in Hollywood. Becoming famous was no picnic for him. He battled typecasting and financial issues before landing his big break on Game of Thrones. "I mean, we were starving after Game of Thrones," he said in an interview, referring to the period before Aquaman became famous overnight. Given this history, it's easy to see why Jason was so eager to experience the high life in Hollywood after his breakthrough. He supposedly had a lavish lifestyle, throwing extravagant parties, collecting vintage motorcycles, and indulging in his passion for fine tequila, according to his friends. His reputation as a laid-back, sociable guy who didn't take life too seriously endured, despite his growing fortune. However, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom encountered numerous challenges due to the global spread of COVID-19. Crucial matters were on the line. The opening weekend of Aquaman grossed over $1 million, 0 cents. As far as we know, no other film in the DC Extended Universe has ever sold 1 billion copies globally. Making a suitable successor was under intense scrutiny. In addition, Jason's personal life was undergoing significant changes. His marriage to Lisa Bonet, which had appeared solid for a long time, was beginning to show indications of weakness, which would ultimately result in their split becoming public knowledge. According to friends, the pressure of maintaining a relationship while filming was too much. The production crew went into a state of panic when they learned that Jason had COVID. Executives at film studios were worried that postponements would further strain their already hectic schedules and cause other scheduled releases to fall victim to a similar fate. What they failed to anticipate was the impact of solitude on someone accustomed to constant movement, interaction, and physical activity. People in London kept dealing with the pandemic behind closed doors, as Jason grew accustomed to his home being under lockdown. Nearly 44,000 new cases of COVID were reported daily in the UK when he was diagnosed in late October 2021. Despite the administration of vaccines, medical professionals cautioned that the nation had not yet fully contained the epidemic. Jason was escaping the hardships that the majority of people were experiencing by living a life of luxury outside the home. Staff were reportedly instructed to leave packages at the gate and adhere to strict regulations in order to ensure the privacy and safety of the star. The majority of us occupied our cramped apartments with Netflix binges and frequent Zoom meetings during our quarantine. This meant the world to Jason, his own private paradise with every convenience imaginable. However, very concerning behaviors emerged as a result of being alone. Days became weeks as Jason began to feel better from his initial symptoms. Due to his absence, Aquaman production was partially halted and scenes had to be reshot. Actresses Nicole Kidman, Amber Heard, and Willem Dafoe continued filming scenes without him. Right now, Jason's phone and computer were his sole means of communicating with the outside world. On occasion, he would share updates on his recovery and express gratitude to those who had supported him on social media. However, the truth behind closed doors was not revealed by these selective posts. According to a housekeeper who requested anonymity, Jason's day had begun in a typical manner. Every morning he would rise early, say a prayer, and then exercise in his personal gym. He would inform his supervisors and the production crew over the phone that he was doing better and couldn't wait to return to work. However, after spending around 5 days in solitude, a transformation occurred. The worker noticed that Jason's demands were starting to sound increasingly bizarre. He requested a large quantity of painting supplies, including several canvases, brushes, and gallons of paint. Inexplicably, he requested odd combinations of foods at odd times. People started sleeping all over the place, and at 3 or 4 in the morning, lights were visible all over the house. Afterwards, surveillance footage would reveal Jason ambling around the property late at night, occasionally chatting with himself and gesturing animatedly as if he were addressing invisible individuals. The production crew noticed that he wasn't looking his usual polished self during their video chats. He sported an unruly beard and loosely styled hair. Dark circles under his eyes indicated he hadn't had a good night's sleep. One of the production assistants remarked afterwards, "It was like watching someone slowly fall apart." Actors have had problems with the stress of big productions before, but this was different. This was scary. What began as a normal cleanup after Jason moved out quickly turned into something the property managers didn't expect. What were the initial indications? After Jason Momoa's stay, they arrived on a November morning prepared to do the usual cleanup. Jason had declared himself well enough to return to work on Aquaman a few days prior, and he had departed from the house. The cleaning service manager had worked in property management for a long time and witnessed the destruction that famous clients could wreak, but she was unprepared for the contents. The first warning sign appeared even before they entered. Disregarding their value, multiple empty bottles of premium tequila, worth hundreds of pounds, were carelessly scattered across the front steps. Beside them, damp from the morning dew, lay a ripped motorcycle magazine. After the fact, the cleaner informed the property manager, "I thought maybe there had been a small party the night before he left." The manager further explained, "It happens to famous people all the time, especially after being stuck inside for weeks." However, upon opening the grand front door, it became evident that this was no ordinary situation. The main hall remained largely unaltered, showcasing its high ceilings and marble floors. As they continued to explore the house, more and more details about what was happening became apparent. All around the kitchen sink, there was a towering pile of plates and bowls. Stacks of takeout containers from posh London eateries littered the countertops. Inside some of them were partially eaten meals. In the fridge, you could find additional spoiled food and alcohol. Strange symbols drawn in what appeared to be charcoal now adorned the walls of the living room, which formerly held pricey artwork. Unusual patterns on the wooden floor beneath a pricey Persian rug were revealed as it was rolled back. There were triangular-shaped repeated patterns and curving lines that resembled ocean waves. With the sound turned down low, the projector in the theater room continued to play films pertaining to the ocean. A circle formed by rearranging the leather chairs in the room's center. An open notebook containing handwritten notes concerning marine life and ocean preservation was placed on each seat. Over the course of the book, some details started to make less and less sense. "We were documenting everything by taking pictures at this stage," the cleaning supervisor explained. There was something more troubling about this renter than just a mess. The investigation into Jason Momoa's house took a terrifying turn when they entered the master bedroom and witnessed the transformation that had left the cleaning crew speechless. The king-size bed lay buried beneath a mountain of clothing, some of which appeared to be high-end designer pieces with their original tags still attached. Empty food containers littered the floor, while the living room adjacent had been transformed into what appeared to be a makeshift workshop, complete with tools strewn across old furniture and strange stains on the cream-colored carpet. The real shocker, though, came when they entered the bathroom. The exquisite marble room, complete with deep tub and walk-in shower, had been transformed into an art studio. The walls were covered with hand-drawn murals depicting abstract designs, bizarre sea creatures, and swirling ocean scenes. These weren't professional drawings, but rather raw, emotional creations made with whatever was available. Some appeared to have been painted with ordinary house paint, while others had what appeared to be food coloring or coffee grounds mixed with water on them. It was like walking into the mind of someone who had been completely isolated and needed to express something urgent, a witness remarked. Beautiful in a disturbing way. Near the restroom, you could find a stack of empty notebooks containing drawings and notes. Inside each notebook was a journal detailing the struggles of a mind grappling with issues of solitude, celebrity, and profound philosophical questions. The owners promptly sealed up these private matters, but word would eventually get out about what was inside. The journals contained ramblings about insecurity and stardom. There was a lot of rearranging in the private gym, with weird stacks of weights and resistance bands tied in knots that crossed the doors like a web. It looked more like a place for a routine than a place to work out. American talk show host Jesse Waters said, "This is disturbing," after seeing photos of the house. What happened to Jason Momoa in the span of a few weeks was the most pressing concern, as this appeared to be the result of a total breakdown of mental health. Isolation can happen to anyone, no matter how famous or rich they are. Another psychologist who works with industry workers expressed, people with the busiest social lives can have the worst reactions to being cut off from people all of a sudden. Mental health professionals were discreetly summoned as word spread among the business about how bad the house was. While they couldn't be sure because they hadn't seen Jason, the evidence pointed to someone who was likely struggling with the mental effects of being alone, possibly exacerbated by the stress of an expensive show that was hanging in the balance. According to his friends, he was a restless soul who needed to be doing something, creating something, or mingling with others. Being cooped up in a house, no matter how luxurious, would have been a major challenge for someone with his personality. At the same time, Jason informed his wife Lisa Bonet that he was divorcing her. Despite reports that the split was amicable, it was still a major upheaval in someone's life during a difficult period. Those on the production crew who had kept in touch with Jason during his lockdown noted that his behavior on their video calls had grown increasingly erratic, as if he were unprepared, and that the conversation would jump around a lot. According to one production assistant, they were worried about Jason Momoa because he didn't answer some calls. When the photos of the farm were re-examined, they discovered some concerning trends, such as the excessive art covering nearly every surface, which suggested that someone was desperately trying to get their ideas out into the world. Similar to Jason's work, the main ideas in his art were about the world. They didn't just find damage to Jason Momoa's property, but signs that someone was going through a very personal struggle behind closed doors, which would eventually require professional help and raise serious questions about the mental health of celebrities. According to rumors, one Warner Brothers official whispered, "This is disturbing," but there was one more shocking discovery that would bring Jesse Waters into the picture and make this private matter public. Jason Momoa has long presented himself as an environmental activist, frequently speaking out about the dangers of plastic waste and protecting the oceans. The cleaning crew may have discovered the most damning evidence in the garage area, where there was a lot of mayhem. The London estate's garage revealed his lack of concern for the environment, despite his claims to the contrary. Stacks of single-use plastic bottles dominated the space, while workbenches held dozens of empty aerosol cans that had once held spray paint. Conservative journalist Jesse Waters wasted no time in calling out what he perceived as hypocrisy, writing, "Here's a guy who tells everyone to save the oceans while creating his own environmental disaster behind closed doors." The story went viral in certain media circles, and Waters even did a show based on the contents of the house. The disparity between his public and private personas was brought up in conversations about real celebrities. Despite the house having a state-of-the-art water filter system, the cleaning company discovered more than 700 single-use plastic water bottles in the inventory. More than 50 aerosol paint cans were used and discarded improperly. Several large trash bags contained fast food packaging, mostly from places that use non-biodegradable containers. Environmental experts questioned about the case estimated that the single individual had produced as much waste as a family of 6 during the same time period. This was particularly peculiar considering that Jason had recently given an enthusiastic interview about his plans to. He mentioned routines like bringing a refillable water bottle instead of a single-use one, and an environmentalist said, "It's one thing to have a moment of weakness or to slip up once in a while. It's one thing to preach about sustainability while living in a way that goes against those values." The property management company acted swiftly to contain the situation, hiring cleaners and ensuring that all potentially hazardous materials were disposed of correctly. They also attempted to prevent the complete story from reaching the major media outlets, as they cared about the privacy of their famous clients and their reputation for discretion. Unfortunately, by the time the news got out, Jason Momoa had already taken full responsibility, admitted through his lawyers that he had struggled during quarantine, offered to cover the estate's cleaning costs, and most importantly, agreed to seek professional help. According to those close to the actor, he began seeing a therapist who specializes in mental health issues related to isolation, as well as an addiction counselor to address troubling patterns that surfaced during his isolation. Jason had secret conversations with a handful of environmental activists for extended periods of time, sharing his innermost thoughts and feelings without justifying his actions. These candid discussions eventually led to collaborative efforts within the environmental movement to promote mental health. As a case study for eco-friendly filmmaking, the production of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom allowed Jason and environmentalists to eliminate all single-use plastics from the set. Water stations were installed in place of plastic bottles, reusable containers were distributed to all crew members, and stringent collection regulations were instituted. After initially using the story to demonstrate the hypocrisy of celebrities, Jesse Waters later acknowledged on his show that it actually represented a broader mental health issue stemming from pandemic isolation. What they found in Jason Momoa's estate isn't just about one actor's behavior, Waters stated. It's a wake-up call about how being alone affects everyone, popular or not. We all need to connect with others. Jason appeared to have improved significantly by the end of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. The event, according to his friends, altered his views on celebrity, mental health, and his responsibility as a public figure. A lot of repairs were needed to fix the damage to the London house. Art experts deemed one of Jason's paintings in the bathroom, depicting a stunning underwater scene, to have genuine aesthetic value, so the property owners decided to retain it. This is an intriguing twist. Jason is using his fame to end the stigma associated with mental health issues. He opens up about his breakdown while in quarantine today. "What they found in my estate wasn't pretty, according to him, but it led me to find help, and that's something I'll always be grateful for." How would you handle being stranded on your own for an extended period of time? When times get tough, how do you believe fame impacts mental health? Fill out the space below with your response.